Good afternoon. This is Mike Smella, founder of Physicians Wealth Resources, and today we're going to be taking a little different view of our money. Most of us think about our money as cash flow in, cash flow out. Hopefully at the end of the month we've got enough to pay the bills and put a little bit of money aside. But when we're looking at creating long-term wealth for ourselves and our families and being able to create the retirement that we want to start to look at a very, very different view of our money. So we're going to introduce a concept today. It's called the Lifetime Capital Reserve. And basically what we're going to look at is this is all of the money that we're going to make during our lifetime. Now imagine, let's say we're a husband and wife, age 35, each making $75,000 a year, or you've got a combined income of $150,000. And you are looking at 30 years and being able to retire at age 65, and you set as your goal to be able to retire with $100,000 a year of retirement income. Now we're also going to assume, which isn't a far stretch right now, that you are not going to have any pension income and you're not even looking at receiving any Social Security income. So if you take away those two rungs of the three-legged stool that used to be in place for people back in 1980s, 1990s, 2000, all of a sudden with no pensions or Social Security, it becomes really up to us as the individual, or in this case the husband and wife, to create enough income that they can retire on, whether they live to age 68, whether they live to age 98, whether they live to age 110. So in this case, again, we're going to look at that lifetime capital reserve of $150,000 a year, 30 years, at $4.5 million. Now, that sounds like a lot of money, doesn't it? Well, it really is. And let's assume for right now that they receive all of that $4.5 million in one lump sum on January 1st, 2012. So all of the money that they are going to make in their life, they receive in one lump sum. And that is all the money that they have to live on. Because you know what, guys? That's exactly what happens. Okay? So we've got $4.5 million in their lifetime capital reserve. Now the question then becomes, how far is that money going to last? Well, what we start to see is that there are holes in their bucket, or what we call as wealth drains, that starts to immediately reduce their lifetime capital reserve and their ability to create long-term income for themselves. One of these is taxes, pretty obvious one. And let's just say we have about 30% going towards taxes, so we got $1.35 million that gets reduced right off the bat, paying taxes in all the different phases of taxes. Let's also say that they've got 30% going towards financed items. And since we're in the medical industry, of course, we've got things like student loans, credit cards, boat loans, home loans, auto loans. Over the course of our life, think about it, over the course of our life, how much money is going to flow out of our life, never to return back again, for financing items, principal and interest paid to others. It's actually, for most people, it's actually higher than 30%, but we're just going to see the 30% in this example. Then we've also got things like regular living expenses. These are all things that we have to pay in cash, or we do pay in cash rather than financing them. It's money and wealth that drains out of our life, but if we also think about it, it's also a lost opportunity for that money, that $1.35 million or 30% roughly of whatever comes out. We have a lost opportunity for that money to ever continually grow and work for us, correct? Something we don't normally think about, or we certainly aren't taught about. So when we start, in this case, with $4.5 million, all of a sudden, when we take away taxes, financing, and living expenses, we reduce that $4.5 million to $450,000 of leftover money for them to then invest or grow from age 35 to age 65. Doesn't sound like a lot of money, does it? Granted, they've got 30 years to do it. And what does our normal financial world say? Just invest for the long term, The market's going to go up, the market's going to go down, but if you keep it there long enough, it's going to grow by 6-8%, and you'll be in good shape. Well, let's take a look at another thing here, because all of a sudden we've got $450,000. That's all they've got to live on for the rest of their lives, and that's what they've got to grow for the next 30 years in order to create a retirement that will provide them $100,000 a year of income regardless of how long they live. So now we look at how far will that go, or what will happen to that? Because again, normal financial strategies says, what are we going to do with that money? We're going to put that money into qualified funds, or we're going to put that money into investments, and we're going to hope to grow that money, correct? Well, here comes the questions. Out of those 30 years, how many years of losses or down years can they afford? If they put that $450,000 in and all of a sudden a 2008 hits and you lose 40%, what does that do for their long-term retirement? How many 2008s, 2009s can they afford to lose? Or can they afford to be able to grow their money to a point where they can retire comfortably? If those monies are put into qualified plans, 401ks, IRAs, what our financial professionals tell us is that we're going to postpone paying the taxes. Our money will grow tax deferred. Well, the thing that they don't tell us is when we grow our money tax deferred, when we postpone the taxes, postpone paying the taxes, we also postpone the tax calculation. And the piece of the puzzle that we don't know, they always tell us that, okay, when we are ready to retire, we're going to be in a lower tax bracket. Well, think about it, folks. Do you really think in the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years, taxes are going to go up, go down, or stay the same? Almost everybody that I talk to, and actually numbers will show that taxes have to go up in the future. So even if you end up in making less money down the road, you may be in a higher tax bracket, which means, did you really save money? And how long, or let's put it this way, is that another wealth drain on your money? Of course it is. And then lastly is how much fees? How much is going out to pay your stockbroker, your investment advisor, whether the market goes up or the market goes down? Over the course of 30 years, that all drains wealth out of your pocket and out of your ability to create retirement. So the questions we need to start really asking ourselves is how much money can we afford to risk losing, and how much control can we afford to give away? Because again, we started with $4.5 million of capital reserve, a lifetime capital reserve. We need to start changing our focus. We need to be able to keep control and become empowered with the money and the wealth that is going to flow into our lives. So what we at Physicians Wealth Resources start to re-educate our clients on is, rather than focusing on trying to grow whatever leftover money we have, why don't we start to focus on plugging those financial holes? We want to be able to create financial strategies. We want to be able to create financial vehicles that plug the holes of those financial buckets, or reduce or eliminate or even reverse the flow of those wealth drains. Think for a moment, if you had the ability to, number one, reduce or eliminate all the fees in your life that are paid out to brokerage houses. What if you had the ability to eliminate forever market loss as a potential in your lives? What if you had the ability to reduce your taxes that you pay over your lifetime and have the ability to reverse the flow of your cost of financing and paying cash for things? Would you keep more of that initial lifetime capital reserve? Of course you would. And then when we utilize specifically structured strategies and vehicles to make that money continually grow for you, then you have a much better situation and a much better ability to create and retire the way that you want to. I appreciate you being here today. We're going to keep talking some more. This is Mike Smela with Physicians Wealth Resources.